The iPhone is not getting any smaller, but supposedly cheaper and smarter. Apple's MobileMe services could finally become what we've all dreamed, starting with a free price tag. And all the good, the bad, and the ugly with the App Store's new subscription services. All this and more coming up right now. Hello everybody, I'm Jaime Rivera and welcome to the Pocketnow iReview, the show where we go through all this week's cool and the not so cool inside the world of Apple's iOS devices. Let's start this week off with the cool. Well, even though the Wall Street Journal confirmed that Apple is working on a smaller iPhone, call it Nano or Mini, along comes the New York Times and says, no wait, it's not smaller, it's just cheaper. Not really sure what they mean by cheaper, meaning not really sure if Apple's going to hinder build quality in order to bring a more competitive price to compete with Android and the new Windows Phone 7 Nokia strategy. But again, we don't really see Apple working on a Nano device or a larger screen 4-inch device because Apple's always about developers. Remember that they went from the whole HVGA display to Retina display just because it was double the pixels and it would be easier for developers to be able to port apps to the new iOS device. Same thing happened to the iPad, so not really sure we'll see smaller devices, not really sure what to expect with cheaper devices, but we do expect for Apple to compete with better strategical price points against competition. We'll see what happens. Now, one of the things where the New York Times did agree with the Wall Street Journal is the fact that Apple is working on improving their voice control services on iOS devices. Call this the fact that Apple is demonstrating that they're finally working on the Siri deal that they made a couple of months ago. Now, not really sure what Apple can do here because, first of all, I'd rather they figure out how to improve the volume on the voice control services because I could barely hear the machine. But aside from that, it's really cool to see that Apple will bring new services. Now, whoever does use voice control nowadays, not really sure what to expect there. Now, continuing on with those rumors, it does seem that Apple is working on dropping the price tag on their MobileMe services. We currently pay $99 for a service you can get for free on Gmail, Dropbox, and a couple of other services, so it does make all the sense in the world that Apple figures out how to add this added value through MobileMe. Now, one cool thing is that they're finally working on streaming music services through MobileMe to iOS devices as a strategy to figure out how to not add more flash storage to devices and just have all the music in the cloud. Kind of smart if you ask me. And while the dev team has recently upgraded their Punish tool to version 4.2 to support untethered jailbreaks to iOS 4.2.1. What does this mean? Well, if you currently have a baseband on iOS 4.0.2 and you can only unlock your device on that baseband, you can use the Punish tool to update your device to iOS 4.2.1 without upgrading that baseband, meaning you can keep the current carrier unlocked. Now, considering the fact that the dev team is taking a whole lot of deal to figure out how to unlock the current basebands to iOS 4.1 and 4.2.1, not really sure what to expect, but aside from that, another cool thing is that if you had issues with iBooks and jailbreaks, well, the Punish tool does fix this too, and even Green Poison on a recent update, so really cool news on the jailbreak side, even though we are waiting for the unlocks again. Well, that does it for the cool. Let's continue on with the not so cool. Apple's new subscription services in the App Store have caused a lot of controversy because developers are not liking the fact that Apple's already making a 30% cut over applications and now they want a 30% cut over in-app purchases. Now, from a consumer standpoint, it's not really bad that you don't have to leave the application to purchase new content, and we just like for Apple and subscription developers to figure out what they do in between. Now, if you think about it, the Kindle app is not sold within the App Store, nor is the Sony Reader app, and a lot of apps that sell content within applications but don't sell the app. So if it's Apple's App Store, I would consider it fair that Apple does make a little money from whatever is sold within if the developer's not going to be selling their services. Really wish they could figure this out because then again, if developers don't really like it, they're still calling Apple a monopoly for the services. And think about it. I mean, you're not obligated to sell or to buy an iPhone or to buy apps within the iPhone. It's a choice. So it's not a monopoly, guys. If you don't like it, then just go develop stuff for Android or, just bite the dust. And well, continuing on with App Store money issues, AT&T has just let the cat out of the bag with USA Today by stating that it's not fair that only Apple makes money through the App Store, that AT&T should make money with the App Store too. Right. Now, one thing that was smart coming from AT&T CEO is the fact that it's not really fair that you purchase an app through Apple's App Store, and then if you want to use that same app with an Android App Store, you can't do that. You have to either use it on Apple or use it on Android, but pay twice. The only thing is he did mention that we should buy the app in their store, which is one thing we don't like. So, again, guys, if you can't find a cool strategy, or if you did accept the strategy at the beginning, why complain about it later? Now, if we don't have a too proud Apple boasting over the Verizon iPhone sales, it's because the Verizon iPhone sales did not go that well. And think about it, I mean, the device was too little too late to the game and too little too late to the tech. It's last year's technology trying to compete with 4G and so many other world phones in the Verizon market already. Again, not really sure what to expect with Apple in June, but our biggest bet is that Apple will revamp the AT&T device and not the Verizon device. So I think it's time for you to consider if you're either going to stay with your device or, just bite the dust with the current Verizon iPhone or just go for Droid. Yeah, I did say that. That's it for today's show. Thank you very much for watching. Remember to give us a thumbs up if you like what you saw. That's it for now.